$50 million. That's the number rattling defense ministries from Islamabad to Riyadh right now. Because it's roughly half what a comparable Western stealth fighter costs, and China just proved it can build one and sell it. On May 1, 2026, Chinese state television aired something unusual. Not a military parade, not a drill, a single aircraft rolling out of a hangar in northern China under studio lighting, with a corporate logo on its tail instead of a military insignia. That logo belonged to AVIC, the Aviation Industry Corporation of China, and the aircraft was the J-35 AE, the export version of China's newest stealth fighter, built specifically to be sold abroad. This is the story of how that aircraft gets made. Not the finished jet on the runway, the industrial chain behind it. The metal, the coatings, the engines that may or may not live up to their own paperwork, and the calculated bet that a country can out-manufacture its way into a market the United States has quietly dominated for 2 decades. For most of the last 20 years, there has been exactly one country reliably selling 5th-generation stealth fighters to the world. Lockheed Martin's F-35 Lightning II has gone to 15 air forces and counting, with more than 1,200 aircraft delivered. Russia's Su-57 has managed a grand total of 2 export deliveries. China's J-35 AE is the first serious attempt to break that F-35 monopoly, and it's doing it on price. An F-35A runs somewhere between $80 and $90 million. Carrier variants push past 120. The J-35 AE is being quoted at $50 to $70 million. That price gap is the entire reason this aircraft exists, and it's the reason air forces that Washington has never sold to are suddenly paying close attention. It starts, like every fighter jet does, with metal that doesn't officially have a name yet. Titanium alloy, aerospace grade, poured and forged into billets strong enough to survive supersonic stress and light enough to still get off the ground. China doesn't publish detailed sourcing data on where this material comes from. That part of the chain stays deliberately opaque. What we do know is where it's headed. A facility that didn't exist in this form 5 years ago. Shenyang Aerospace City, 79 square kilometers, backed by an 8.6 billion yuan investment, purpose-built to take raw material in one end and roll finished stealth fighters out the other. It's the kind of vertically integrated industrial zone that used to be a uniquely American advantage. The same scale logic behind Lockheed's Fort Worth complex. Now it's Shenyang's, and by some estimates, it's already bigger. The titanium and the carbon fiber composite toe move through that zone toward fabrication halls that, until recently, nobody outside China had seen. Then, in October 2025, PLA-linked state media released something unprecedented, a short clip from inside the production hangar itself. Rows of partially assembled airframes. Technicians in coveralls working on fuselage sections still coated in metallic green primer, not yet painted for service. Robotic arms moving with the kind of coordinated precision that used to be the F-35 program's signature move. Chinese state broadcasters have gone further, claiming the fuselage serial numbers themselves encode a production rhythm. One airframe completed roughly every 72 hours. If that pace holds at scale, it's a serial manufacturing tempo most Western primes would envy. Here's where the manufacturing story gets genuinely strange. Reports out of the program suggest the J-35 leans heavily on 3D printing for structural components, enough to cut the total part count by roughly half compared to China's earlier J-20 fighter. Fewer parts means fewer joints, fewer points of failure, and critically, a faster and cheaper production line. It's not a minor efficiency tweak. It's the same philosophy the F-35 program promised back in the 1990s and, by most honest accounts, never fully delivered. Whether China's version holds up under decades of real-world service is a question nobody outside SAC's own engineering offices can currently answer. And there's a second, quieter breakthrough happening in the coatings lab. Traditional radar-absorbent material is thick, heavy, and needs to be reapplied constantly. F-22 and F-35 ground crews reportedly touch up stealth coating every 3 weeks, an expense that adds up fast over a fleet's lifetime. Chinese researchers claim to have developed something different, a 4 mm thick coating built from carbonized loofah fiber loaded with nickel cobalt oxide, absorbing over 99% of radar in the Ku band. Alongside it, a graphene-based metasurface, thinner than a sheet of paper, engineered using techniques adapted from 3,000-year-old silk weaving patterns. Old craft, new physics. If the performance numbers are real, it's a genuine materials science leap. But hold that thought, because not everything coming out of this production line matches the polish of the state broadcast footage. From the fabrication hall, sub-assemblies move into final integration, the cleanest, most controlled stage of the entire process. This is where the airframe stops being a collection of parts and starts becoming an aircraft. And this is also where the aircraft's biggest open question lives: the engines. The J-35 family has cycled through a genuinely confusing sequence of power plants. Early prototypes flew on Russian-derived RD-93 engines. Production aircraft moved to the interim WS-13E, then the WS-21, sometimes called the WS-13X, producing around 93 kilonewtons of thrust with afterburner. The long-term answer is supposed to be the WS-19 Huangshan, a purpose-built engine Chinese sources say will finally deliver true supercruise and push total thrust past 20 tons combined, compared to the F-35's single F-135 engine. Some reporting has even suggested the current engines can only sustain a few minutes of full afterburner before hitting thermal limits. China has spent more than $20 billion on domestic engine development, specifically to escape this kind of dependency and uncertainty. And by most outside assessments, the gap with mature Western and even some Russian power plants hasn't fully closed yet. Is that a fatal flaw? Or is it simply what every new fighter program looks like mid-transition? Chinese, American, or otherwise? The F-35 itself spent years wrestling with engine reliability and software integration long after it entered service. Reasonable analysts land in different places on this one, and it's worth sitting with the disagreement rather than resolving it for you. Moving past the engines, the rest of final assembly is where the jet gets its senses. A gallium nitride AESA radar goes in, capable of tracking targets past 200 kilometers. Beneath the nose, technicians fit a distinctive teal-coated sensor housing, the electro-optical targeting system, functionally similar to the F-35's own EUTs, designed to track and designate targets without an external pod that would compromise the stealth profile. Internally, 6 weapons bay hardpoints are wired to carry short-range PL-10 missiles and beyond visual range PL-15s, the same missile family Pakistani J-10Cs reportedly used in a combat engagement against Indian Rafales in May 2025. The first real-world data point anyone has on how Chinese air-to-air weapons perform outside a controlled test range. The export variant strips out everything built for a carrier deck. No folding wings, no twin-wheel catapult gear, no reinforced structure for arrested landings. Just a single-wheel nose gear and a lighter airframe optimized for conventional runways, which, not coincidentally, is exactly what nearly every potential export customer actually needs. Here's a number worth sitting with. China claims the J-35's radar cross-section, a measure of how visible it is to enemy radar, is smaller than a human palm. That would put it in the same class as the F-35. whose own cross-section is often compared to a golf ball. It's a striking claim. It's also completely unverifiable from the outside. China doesn't publish RCS test data across different radar bands or aircraft angles, and independent analysts are working entirely from state media assertions and inference. Adding to the skepticism, some observers have pointed to photos showing visible discoloration on early J-35 test airframes. Critics argue it looks like ordinary automotive-grade paint reacting to supersonic flight and weather exposure, rather than the specialized, baked-in radar-absorbent composite the F-35 uses. The F-35, whatever its own cost overruns and maintenance headaches, has flown thousands of combat and training hours against real adversary radar systems. The J-35 has flown zero. That tension, genuinely impressive manufacturing scale, paired with genuinely unverifiable performance claims, sits at the center of how you should read everything else in this story. We'll get to what happens when this aircraft actually leaves China. But first, one more retention point worth flagging. The export rollout isn't happening in a vacuum. Reports out of Moscow suggest that following the decommissioning of Russia's aging carrier, Admiral Kuznetsov, Russian naval planners have quietly explored acquiring J-35s for a future carrier design of their own. A startling role reversal for a country that spent decades supplying China's Air Force, not buying from it. The final stage is the one that made this video worth making right now. After years of the J-35 program existing mostly in leaked photos and cropped state broadcast footage, China put the export variant directly in front of a television audience, branded for AVIC rather than the Air Force, and let the world draw its own conclusions. The rollout followed a February 2026 appearance at the Singapore Air Show, where AVIC displayed a J-35A scale model aimed squarely at Indo-Pacific and Middle Eastern buyers, a deliberate softening up of the export market months before the full-scale reveal. Pakistan is the presumed launch customer, with reports of a deal for up to 40 aircraft and Pakistani pilots already training in China. It's not confirmed. Pakistan's own defense minister has publicly downplayed the reports at least once, but the pieces, the training, the unveiling, the pricing signals point in one direction. If that deal closes, it changes the regional calculus. Pakistan would be flying a stealth platform its neighbor doesn't have, at a moment when India is still years away from fielding an indigenous fifth-generation fighter of its own. Whether that shifts the actual balance of power in South Asia, or just the psychology of it, is a question defense analysts are already arguing about. And there's no clean answer yet. So where does that leave the comparison that's been running underneath this entire video? On paper, the J-35AE beats the F-35A on combat radius, on claimed top speed, and dramatically on price. The F-35 wins on something harder to manufacture: 15 years of combat integration, a logistics network spanning 15+ countries, and sensor fusion software that's been refined through actual deployment, not just claimed in a state broadcast. One aircraft has a track record and an engine everyone trusts. The other has a price tag, a genuinely novel coating lab, and an engine program still working out its own thrust-to-weight numbers. Is that trade-off worth it for a country that can't afford or can't access the F-35? For some buyers, clearly yes. That's the entire premise of the sale. For others, the absence of a proven combat and sustainment record and the open engine question might be the deciding factor. Which camp you land in probably depends on whether you weight manufacturing achievement more heavily than operational proof. Either answer is defensible right now. What's genuinely undeniable is the industrial achievement underneath all of it. A country that was flying imported Soviet-derived fighters within living memory now has 2 families of stealth aircraft in simultaneous production, a purpose-built 79 square kilometer manufacturing city, and a coating laboratory drawing on 3,000-year-old weaving techniques to attack a maintenance problem American defense contractors are still fighting today. Whether the J-35AE ultimately proves itself in service or turns out to be more marketing than substance, The manufacturing capability behind it is not in dispute. That part isn't a claim. That part is built, tested, and sitting on a runway in Shenyang right now. The next chapter of this story gets written in Islamabad, in Riyadh, in whichever government finally signs the paperwork, and in whatever those engines actually do the first time they're pushed to their limits, somewhere China can't control the footage.